So it's important that as the system exposes itself the way it's doing, that people don't get angry about it, that people simply get more supportive of each other, because that's what is needed. And it's very obvious, folks. I mean, once you see how much you've been betrayed by the system, then you do become sympathetic of your neighbours and sympathetic of the people around you, sympathetic of anybody who's wronged you or done anything wrong, because all of these situations have arisen from the system itself. All of these situations have arisen because of the way people have been trained to think. And that's why compassion becomes so important. And that's why it's important to notice this when it's happening, and notice the effectiveness you can have by being supportive of your community, and notice the ineffectiveness that you have from any violent revolution. Because all you ever get are more police, more laws, more legislation, a greater police state presence. That's all you ever get from it. So as the hierarchy becomes more and more externalized, remember this, and remember to stay in the correct energy. Remember to validate the people around you and validate yourself and see everything as valid. But remember where you are in the pecking order. Remember what you are. You are a divine expression of the universe. That's what you are. And there is no authority that exists between you and your Creator. And always remember that your real purpose here is to serve creation and to improve reality by your presence in it. And so if legislation is being enacted that prevents you from doing so, then those employees who are enacting it are acting in breach of trust. And you can deal with the situation by simply approaching it from that perspective. And don't be scared of these people, folks, but don't be angry, don't be upset, don't be unstable, don't be irate. Simply be who and what you are and stand in that power, because that's how we change things. And that's the only way that we'll change things. And I don't know, folks, I really believe we can do it. Perhaps if your neighbours aren't getting it yet, maybe play them this radio show. Maybe find one of the other shows that works. But never give up on yourself, and don't despair, folks. Please don't despair. I know there's a lot of people out there who feel lonely because they have clear understandings of what reality is and how simple it could be to fix reality. And they get upset that the people around them are not waking up. They get upset that other people think they're crazy, when really it's all so obvious. And you mustn't let these sort of things get you down and interfere with you. There are people out there who care. There are people out there who feel the same. And there is a huge groundswell of consciousness that is sweeping across this planet as more and more people become aware of how reality actually works. So do take heart and never give up on yourself, folks. It's all about energy after all, and you need to maintain that balance within yourself. And all of these things are tests. All of these things are opportunities. We all came here to gather specific information and to experience a specific experience, to come to terms with certain emotional weaknesses that we have. And so we are provided with all of these things throughout our life in order to provide us the opportunity we need to learn how to deal with these things from the correct perspective and from the correct energetic state. Everything has a purpose. Sometimes it may seem a little bit harsh at times, but everything does have a purpose, and even knowing that can be a very empowering perspective to have. And all emotion is opportunity, all opportunity is change, and all is learning. And that is exactly the way it's supposed to be, because that is exactly the way reality functions. Now, recently I'm sure you've heard me talk about the changing of the song lines, which has resulted in a shift of the global energy grid, the ley lines that encompass the Earth. And whether you believe in this type of thing or not is irrelevant at this stage, folks, because what is relevant is that the ruling elite very much do believe in this type of stuff. And this can be clearly seen simply due to the fact that all major obelisks and temples that have been constructed by the elite have traditionally been placed on key grid points, and it would appear that these structures serve to act virtually as acupuncture needles that direct the energy flow to certain points. Well, just something I wanted to touch on is that very significantly, now that the ley lines are actually on the move due to the change that was injected into the song lines, all of these structures that have been placed there by the elite are now located on the wrong points. So that's a very empowering little tidbit, and it's very nice to know, because it's in the removal of these structures from key points on the grid due to the shifting of these energy lines that has resulted in the shift in energy that many have been experiencing since early August. So I just thought I would share that with you as well, because it's very empowering information if you're the sort of person that douses these lines or feels these energy lines. And it's very likely that we can expect more of this to become apparent very soon, following the activation of Uluru later this month on September 27th. And I did get my wires crossed on one point on the last show, folks. Uluru is not the heart of the Rainbow Serpent. And that honour goes to Mount Wollumbin in the Tweed Valley. Uluru is in fact the heart of the Earth, and so it is the heart of the Earth that will be activated on September 27th. And this fact also makes a lot more sense when considering the prophecies of the tribes of North America that I mentioned on last week's show as well. So I figured I'd better clear that little bit up in case I incur the wrath of the elders. And please accept my apologies for getting my wires crossed on that point last week, folks. The last month has been a veritable flood of information for me, and it's been very difficult keeping up with all of the details at times. Now, on the last show, I also mentioned that I was going to Sydney last weekend, and I did indeed go to Sydney last weekend, and I viewed a film released by Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. And I would very much like to send out a hello to all the people that I met at the event, and also send my warmest thanks to Kieran Michaels for arranging the trip down for me. Now, the documentary that I viewed was entitled 911 Explosive Evidence, The Experts Speak Out. And folks, though the film itself was a little mechanical in nature, it did contain some very valuable pieces of information and plenty of ammunition to weaken the resolve of even the most hardened 9/11 truth skeptic. And it's understandable that such a film may have had a somewhat mechanical feel to it, folks. I mean, after all, it was made by architects and engineers, and these people may not be the most artistic souls we have in our society, and so that should be taken into account. But like I said, regardless of the artistic value of the film, it did contain a great deal of scientific fact, and it sought to address the myriad of questions that were left unanswered by the official 9/11 narrative, and I do recommend getting hold of a copy of it and distributing it to as many skeptics as you are able to, because it may just cause the penny to drop. And speaking of films, folks, I've also had to shelve my new film Transformation for the moment, as I have simply had too much of a workload on to be able to put too much time into completing it these last couple of months. But I'm expecting things to level out so I can dedicate some time to it towards the end of October, and I hope to have it available for you by the end of this year. And I'm sorry about that, folks, but things just seem to keep landing in my lap, and so it really is out of my hands at this stage, even though it does become something of a frustration for me, because I really am very keen to get it completed. But, well, I just have to go with the flow, folks. And actually, I've found out that when these type of things happen, it's usually because I'm about to receive some information that really does need to be included in the film. Well, that's the way it's been up to this point, at any rate, which I actually find to be a very interesting thing in itself. Well, we're just about at the end of the show here, folks. I'd like to apologise to the hundreds of people who have sent me emails who are waiting for replies. I have pages of messages on Facebook, I have pages of emails in my box, and I have dozens of messages on YouTube. And it's been very difficult for me to get to them all, folks, because I've been quite busy in the last couple of weeks, so I do love you all, and I will get to your messages when I have a chance to do so. But I am extremely busy from now until mid-October, and so I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to look at them somewhere when I'm out near Uluru, sometime when I'm on the road. We may be stopping somewhere and I'll have internet and I'll be way out in the middle of Australia, so I'll have nothing better to do than to answer emails and messages. So it may take that long, folks, but I will attempt to get to them all. I would like to again say thank you to anybody who has ever supported the Crow House, anybody who has ever made a donation. I very much appreciate all the help that is offered to me, and I thank you all very much for continuing to visit the website. I have updated it quite a bit lately, and I will continue to do so, though it may be a little bit unattended while I'm on my journey, but I will be attempting to upload little snippets of the journey to YouTube along the way when I get a chance to do so. But that is it for me today, folks. We are completely out of time, and so I'm going to have to leave it here. It's been a pleasure talking to you again today. Thank you very much for giving the message consideration, and I will look forward to speaking to you again next week. And remember, folks, there is no real bad or evil in the world. All there is opportunity for change. In Lakesh.